The message always arrives at the right time. Not when you want it, not when you expect it, but when you need it. And sometimes, that moment comes after silent days, confusing weeks, months where everything seems to spin without meaning. And then, suddenly, something crosses your path. A phrase, a song, a simple video like this one. And it feels like the universe paused just to speak to you. It's strange. It feels like magic, but it's not. It's synchronicity. That kind of encounter that can't be forced. That happens when what's outside meets what has been crying out from within. The message doesn't come from nowhere. It's born from your own pain, begging to be heard. And the world, with its quiet wisdom, responds. Not with noise, but with a subtlety that sends shivers down your spine. Because it feels intimate, tailored just for you. Maybe only now you're realizing how much you needed a pause. A moment of truth in the middle of so much noise. A chance to listen to yourself. And if this message found you right now, it's because something inside you called for it, even in silence. Because life has its own ways of showing up, and it never fails to answer when the soul is ready to hear. At the end of this video, I'm going to teach you a simple exercise, one I do myself, whenever I need to remember who I am. Everything you need is already inside you, but the world screams so loudly that it's hard to remember. That's why certain encounters are precious. They don't bring something new. They bring remembrance. Remembrance of who you are, of everything you've already endured, of everything you're still capable of becoming. But the problem is, even when something within you starts to wake up, the world insists on pulling you outward. You wake up and are instantly swallowed by perfect images, motivational quotes that feel empty, people who seem happier, more successful, more certain of everything. And without realizing it, you start measuring yourself, losing yourself. Comparison isn't just a slip of the mind, it's a silent poison. It seeps in unnoticed but weakens everything inside. Slowly, you stop seeing the value in your own choices, the rhythm of your body, the path of your soul. You begin to believe you're behind, that you're not enough, that you need to rush to catch up to something that might not even be yours. And that's when you disconnect. You get distracted by other people's lives and forget about your own. You try to maintain an image and start forgetting how to feel. You trade the silence that once healed you for the noise that now consumes you. And the more you look outward, the more you forget to look inward, until your very identity begins to dissolve into expectations that were never yours to begin with. It's not just envy. It's a process of self-denial. A subtle kind of abandonment that happens every time you feel you should be different. More productive, more social, more anything other than yourself. And this distancing from yourself is what makes you sick. Because comparison steals what is most precious, your authenticity. And without authenticity, everything becomes repetition, even pain. When you compare yourself for too long, you end up wanting to be someone else. Not consciously, but in the small choices. You change the way you speak, suppress what you feel, hide what you think. You start performing, without realizing it, just to fit into places that suffocate you. And while it may seem like adaptation, it's really a silent abandonment of who you are. Jean-Paul Sartre called this bad faith. The act of denying your own freedom, pretending you don't have a choice just to avoid the responsibility of being yourself. It feels like protection, but it's really escape. And running from yourself comes at a high cost. Living a life that isn't yours, carrying a discomfort no one understands, because not even you can explain it. It's like wearing tight clothes every day just because people say they look good on you. At first, you tolerate it. But eventually, it becomes hard to breathe. You no longer know how to walk, how to move, how to breathe without hurting. And all of this, for what? To feel accepted by people who don't even truly see you? Being yourself is scary. It brings insecurity. But it's the only place where you can truly rest. Because the greatest suffering doesn't come from what's missing. It comes from what you stopped being to please others. And even though that's common, it should never be normal. Healing begins when you stop playing roles and slowly start remembering what feels good. What calms you. What fills you without effort. And then, little by little, you return to your center. And in that return, you find a freedom no one can take from you. After so long trying to be what you're not, a dangerous idea starts to emerge. maybe the problem is you. Because while you wrestle with doubts and gray days, there are people who seem to have found the formula for happiness. They show off achievements, beauty, balance. They're always smiling, surrounded by praise. And all of it seems too real to be fake. But truth doesn't always live on the surface. What shines on the outside can hide what's broken inside. Many of the faces you admire carry heavy burdens, constant fears, hidden loneliness. But no one shows that. They show the best angle, the best moment, and hide the rest. Not out of malice, but out of protection. Because even those who seem to have it all are afraid of being forgotten if they're not flawless. That's where the golden cage is born. A kind of life that looks desirable but requires you to hide your pain just to keep up the image. A place where there's no room for doubt, for pauses, for sadness. And the cruelest part? Many spend their entire lives chasing that image, never realizing it's a prison. Comparing yourself to those images creates frustration, but also illusion. The illusion that perfection exists, and that once you reach it, everything will be okay. But the truth is different. Those who need to look fine all the time are rarely at peace. Because true peace doesn't shout, doesn't perform, it's felt. And maybe what you need most right now isn't to look strong or successful. Maybe all you need is a moment of truth. Even if it doesn't impress anyone. Even if that moment of truth doesn't impress anyone, it can be the beginning of your return. A return to what was left behind when you started living to please, to fit in, to be accepted. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the path of becoming who you are, despite everything they tried to make you. It's not a quick process, and it's not always beautiful, but it begins in the small decisions no one sees. Like that night when you decline an invitation, not out of arrogance, but out of respect for your own limits. Or on a day when everyone's busy being productive, and you close your eyes for a few minutes just to listen to your breath. It may seem small, but those gestures are like roots growing back inside of you. Jung believed the soul becomes ill when we try to live only through the persona, the social mask we wear to survive. And healing begins when we stop hiding behind roles, expectations, masks. When we look at what makes us unique, including what hurts, and choose to integrate it all with honesty. Being yourself in a world that expects you to be someone else is an act of courage. But it's also a relief. Because you no longer have to split yourself to fit. You no longer have to pretend you don't feel. You begin to realize that your strength lies exactly in the parts of you you always thought you had to hide. And it's in that silent reunion, far from the eyes of the world, that your essence begins to awaken. Not with shouting, but with presence, with lightness, with truth. But this reunion with your essence doesn't always begin in silence or lightness. Sometimes, it starts in chaos. When everything hurts, when existing feels too heavy, when you wake up and don't understand why you're here, or what you're doing with your life. There are days when the pain gives no rest, and simply continuing feels like fighting something invisible. In those moments, it's easy to believe something's wrong with you, that this constant ache is a sign of failure, that this lingering sadness is some kind of punishment. But is it really? Could it be that you already have some level of happiness, and it's your dissatisfaction that clouds your vision? Could it be an emotional wound you carry, a longing, a dependency, something from childhood, a moment of abandonment or rejection that makes you see life as a punishment? Suffering, no matter how unfair it seems, often carries a request to look at what you're afraid to face. Pain pushes you inward, closer to yourself, to where the answers are hidden beneath layers of what's been ignored. And if you don't run, if you don't numb it, escape it, or fake your way through it, you might discover that this pain doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to transform you. Sometimes that transformation begins with a simple gesture, getting out of bed, opening the window, taking a deep breath. Tiny actions, almost invisible to the world, but monumental for someone who feels everything so deeply. And that's where awareness starts to grow, when you choose to keep going even without certainty. When you understand that living doesn't mean having all the answers, it means having the courage to continue, even with questions. It's not about romanticizing pain. It's about recognizing it as part of the path, as a sign that something inside you is asking for change. Because the one who faces their pain with presence returns stronger, and more importantly, more truthful. When you stop running from the pain and begin to listen to it, you'll notice something even deeper asking for space. Presence. Being here, now. Not in a rush. Not trying to understand everything at once. Just being. Breathing. Feeling. Noticing what used to go unnoticed. The mind tends to wander far. It clings to what already happened or what might still happen. It replays conversations, anticipates problems, projects scenarios, and in that constant back and forth, you drift away from the only place where true healing can happen, the present. You might not even realize it, but just hearing the sound of rain, smelling fresh coffee, watching sunlight pour through the window, all of that soothes you. All of that reconnects you. Like that moment when you sit on the floor, lean your back against the wall, close your eyes, and just breathe. No plans. No pressure. No need to fix anything. In those moments, your body begins to rest from the inside out. Presence demands nothing from you. Unlike the world, it doesn't require results. It only invites you to be fully present in whatever you're doing. To take one step at a time. To accept that the now, with everything it holds, is already enough. Even if it's quiet. Even if it's simple. Healing doesn't scream. It starts slowly. In the space between one thought and the next. In the pause between one breath and another. And when you allow yourself to be fully there, it's as if something inside you says, I'm here, with myself, and that's enough. And when you allow yourself to simply be, without pressure, you begin to notice how much you've pushed to appear a certain way. How much you've gone beyond your limits just to impress, to be seen, to be recognized, as if your worth depended on the approval of people who often don't even know your story, who can't see your depth. But it doesn't have to be that way anymore. You no longer need to fit into molds that hurt you. You don't need to wear strength when you're tired. You don't need to pretend you're okay, when deep down, all you want is a bit of quiet. This constant pressure to appear strong, productive, interesting, it's exhausting. And that exhaustion comes from the ongoing effort to win attention, when what you really need is peace. There's an immense freedom in simply letting go of the need to please. In allowing people to think whatever they want, while you choose to stay true to yourself. Because in the end, the ones who truly love you don't need to be convinced. And those who demand that you change in order to be accepted don't deserve access to your essence. Seeking approval is draining. Validating yourself is healing. The addiction to validation is quiet, but cruel. It makes you confuse worth with visibility. It makes you measure your importance by the echo your image causes in others. But your soul doesn't feed on that. It's nourished by authenticity, by silence, by truth. You don't have to prove anything anymore, or rush toward something that doesn't even make sense. Your purpose isn't to appear better, it's to feel whole. And that begins when you understand that your truth is worth more than any applause. After trying so hard to please, compare, chase, a kind of exhaustion sets in that isn't physical, it's soul deep. A fatigue from constantly looking outward, searching for answers, advice, validation, meaning. And that's when something begins to shift. You realize none of it truly fills you. The more you search outside, the further you drift from yourself. It takes courage to turn your eyes inward. Because there, in the inner silence, there are no distractions. Only truth. There's pain that was pushed aside. There are memories still undigested. There's also forgotten potential, stifled desire, a light dimmed by the fear of not being accepted. You might be surrounded by stimulation all the time, but stimulation is not clarity. Noise is not wisdom. And the busier you are, the less you listen to yourself. That's why sometimes everything feels empty, even with so many voices around. Because what you really need to hear doesn't come from the world. It comes from within. The answers you're searching for are already there. But they don't scream. They wait for silence. They wait for you to pause, to breathe, and to sincerely ask, what am I feeling right now? What is trying to emerge that I've been silencing? What have I been running from, thinking it's normal to live this way? The search for meaning begins when you have the courage to sit in silence without distraction. When you face the mirror without looking away. When you allow yourself to feel whatever comes. No filter. No shame. Because in the end, The greatest truth you can find doesn't lie in what others think of you. It lies in what you choose to see when you finally stop hiding. Even when everything feels still, life goes on. With or without applause. With or without answers. With or without you having figured everything out. And that realization, which may seem harsh at first, is actually freeing. Because it shows you no longer have to live as if the world depends on your performance. It doesn't. And that sets you free. You're not here to bear the weight of being flawless, or to be remembered by people who never truly saw you. You're here to live consciously, to connect with what's true, even if it's simple, to make sense to yourself, even when no one else understands. Life doesn't stop and wait for you to be accepted. It moves forward, and that, rather than pressuring you, can liberate you. Because if everything keeps going, even after the pain, the losses, the silences, it means you can keep going too, in your own way, in your own time. You don't have to dramatize everything, nor carry the weight of others' eyes on your back. Your existence is not a performance. It's an intimate story, sometimes imperfect, but yours. And the value of that story isn't in how much it impresses. It's in how much it represents you. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means integrating. It means understanding that life doesn't require you to be strong all the time. It only asks you to keep going, even if slowly, even if gently, because continuing, in itself, is already an act of courage. It's not always the world that feels heavy. Sometimes, it's the way you're looking at it. Focus can be poison or medicine, depending on how it's used. When you train your eyes to see only what's missing, what hurts, what isn't as you'd like, everything feels worse. But when you start, even gradually, to notice what is working, something begins to realign inside you. This isn't about forcing optimism. It's not about denying what hurts. It's about balance. It's about remembering that alongside pain, there is also beauty. Even on difficult days, there's a warm cup of coffee, a shy laugh, a song that touches your soul, a sunset you barely noticed. And that doesn't erase what's painful, but it keeps you from drowning in darkness. Maybe you've become so used to protecting yourself from what's bad that you've forgotten how to embrace what's good. But what you focus on grows. If you only feed anger, comparison, criticism, that's what will fill your mind. But if you start, consciously, to notice the small pockets of lightness, you begin to build a different kind of life. A little quieter, perhaps, but much more real. Training your gaze isn't naivety. It's resistance. It's you refusing to be defined only by your wounds. It's you learning to see again with your own eyes, not through the lens of pain. Because pain tends to distort everything. But when you clean that lens with presence, you start to see beauty even in the most forgotten corners. And when you begin to change the way you see, everything around you changes too. But there's something even deeper, the way you see yourself. Maybe you've spent your whole life believing you are your thoughts, your body, your emotions. But there's a simple way to realize you are none of those things. There's an author named Rhonda Byrne. She became known worldwide for the book The Secret, and later wrote another one called The Greatest Secret. It was in this second book that she shared an exercise that completely changed the way I relate to life. It's an exercise I personally use, especially when everything starts to feel heavy. The first thing you'll do is sit in a quiet place. It doesn't have to be anything special. Just a space where you can be for a few minutes without interruptions. The second step is to close your eyes. Breathe normally. Don't try to control your breathing. Just notice the air going in and out. Then, begin repeating silently, "I am not my body." Repeat this phrase a few times. As you do, notice your body. Feel your feet, your hands, the way you're sitting. Observe without trying to change anything. Just observe. Next, say silently, "I am not my thoughts." Thoughts will come. Let them come. Just watch them. Don't fight them. Simply realize, if you can see the thoughts happening, then you are not those thoughts. Then continue with, "I am not my emotions." Maybe you're sad, tired, anxious. That's okay. Just acknowledge it, feel it, and notice. If you can observe your emotions, then you are not those emotions either. Now comes the most important part. Imagine yourself with arms wide open. You don't need to do it physically, just visualize it. As if you're opening up to something greater, a silent surrender. And then ask yourself, if I'm not my body, not my thoughts, not my emotions, then who am I? Don't try to answer with your mind. Just sit with the question. Feel the space it creates within you. You might notice a different kind of silence, a calm that doesn't need an explanation. That space, that awareness, that's who you are. It's a simple exercise. But if you do it with presence, it reconnects you with something that was never truly lost, just forgotten. Because in that moment, you stop identifying with what hurts and begin to remember who you've always been. If you've made it this far, thank you. If this message resonated with you, maybe you're ready to take the next step. In my ebook, Alchemy and Archetypes, I share practical exercises to help deepen this reconnection with who you are. The link is in the first pinned comment.